Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be sharing about a topic that a lot of HDB owners will be thinking about, especially when they're thinking to be upgrading to a bigger property or to be upgrading to private, which is, can I afford it? Today's example I'm going to share is, of course, upgrading from a HDB to a private, because I think that is more common. But I think the key problem here a lot of people will face is that it seems like I can afford it, the loans, the CPF, the cash portion, all I have. But why does it seem like I am a little bit worried, or to say I'm a little bit stepping back about the move? So today we will share a little bit more about how I actually go about advising my clients when we are actually looking to be upgrading or doing this transition. So before we begin, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. You see, I do have done a lot of videos in analysis wise to actually help you guys to be able to give you this thing called clarity, so that when you are making a decision, when you're making at the crossroad of a property decision, you have clarity, you are very clear about what is the next thing to do. So if you also need someone to give you this kind of clarity in your own specific case studies, please reach out to me and I can also help you along the way. Okay, if not, let's begin the video. So the key thing, like I said, the bank also say yes, the loan is okay, right? My CPF is okay, my cash is also okay. It seems like a very good story, right? Everything is okay. That means to say I can what? I can afford to buy the property. However, you realize whenever you have met your friends or relatives who upgrade their properties, right? Then you say, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? Congratulations on the new house. They will always tell you this, wow, I feel poorer now. Right? So this is something that I think it is a silent trap that we need to be very, very clear about. Is it that we are being poorer, or are we compromising our lifestyle already? Because feeling poorer could mean like, at this point of time, I have a lot of cash outlay, but I have still certain safety net left. Or it's like I already all in everything, I don't have nothing left. I really have to continue to be working in order to be able to service the mortgage. So this is the balance, or rather this is the key difference that we also want to be understanding about. Okay, so this is of course the typical upgraders journey. So my HDB has appreciated, our income has increased, my CPF also increased, the condo seems very, very within reach. It is very possible. Congratulations, I tell you, if you have this and this, yes, it could be possible. However, I always believe we need to come back to the numbers to see what is suitable for you and is safe. This is something that we always want to be. We want to buy into safety. All right. And like I said, can buy doesn't mean that we can own it comfortably, you see. So can buy means to say maybe I can all in everything. I can all in everything. So that means to say I cash everything, I clear everything out. Versus comfortably, I will still be able to have liquidity. I don't compromise my lifestyle. I also have holding power. Buying property today, my friends, is not just about I pay my 25% down payment, my loan is okay, everything is settled. No, it's actually how long you can hold it. Because end of the day, any properties you buy, you need to hold it for 4 years. If you buy especially a resale property, your monthly mortgage will actually be based on the full loan quantum. That means to say every month your mortgage will at least be a few $1,000s. So having this holding power is very, very important. We don't even talk about profits. We don't even talk about how much this property can appreciate first. We talk about whether you have that holding power first. And if you have that holding power, congratulations, you are going to make some money. All right. So this is actually the framework that I actually share with my clients whenever we are talking about upgrading to the next property. So I'm going to run through these 4 numbers with you in detail and also give you a certain case study as well. Okay, so number 1, the key thing that we also want to have is, of course, the purchase affordability. Of course, these are what your funds are. Right? So we have your cash, CPF, loan. Of course, if you are already having a property of your own, then you will also have this thing called sales proceeds. Okay? Then we look at this example. This couple, okay, they are actually looking to be upgrading to a property. So both of them are actually 30 years old. Their combined income is about $13,000. Okay, and based on that, their monthly OA amount, the ordinary account, is about $2,990, and with their current balance of OA, they're 100k, and because they have sold off their BTO, right, they have 400k for their sales proceeds as well. And of course, along these past 5 years, they also have been saving money, so they have about 200k in their savings. So the combined here, what we see here is about $700,000. Okay, so what we see that there's $700,000, what a lot of people will do is work backwards. So I will use this, I divide by about 29%, I will get a purchase price. This is how we work backwards for the, why 29%? So 25% for the down payment, 4% for the stamp duty. Of course, this is estimated 4%. I will usually count this as 29%. Because I rather calculate a little bit more to have a little bit of buffer than to have to under calculate this. So when that happens, we also work into the loan as well. If I were to buy $1.8 million, my loan is about $1.35 million, and of which my down payment in total is $450,000. Of course, this is inclusive of this $90,000, where it's 5% that has to be in cash minimally. Okay, and the monthly mortgage based on $1.35 million is about $5,000 a month, $4,990. Okay, so this is something that we know that based on this couple's current affordability, this is what they can be looking at. Then, of course, the next thing we also want to understand is if they really do buy this property at $1.8 million, after spending, I would say, quite a bit of money, 450k. Later I'll show you everything in ready, right? How much cash is left untouched? So why is this important to understand? Because we want to know what is the safety net that they have. If I were to be buying a property, today and there has no safety net, right? This is what it will look like. Okay, so let's say just now we say got 700,000, right? If I divide by 0.29, actually I can buy up to $2.4 million if I just base on the 700k amount that the couple has. But because I'm only buying $1.8 million, right? You realize that my 1.8 million total is actually it's about 522,000. That means to say based on $700,000, I minus 522,000, I at least have about $188,000 of safety net left. This is something that is very, very important because this amount of money will come in handy for a few things. Later I'll run through. Okay, so like we say, this is after the available funds and of course the upfront cost, right? So these are actually the amount of money that they actually totally have, 700k. So I minus the down payment, minus buyer stamp duty, minus legal fee. Legal fee usually is between about, can be $2,000 plus to $3,000. $4,000 is a little bit too much, but I just want to give you a range lah. So the buffer in between, they have, like you see, about $186,000 to $187,000. So based on my calculation, more or less, this is what they will have in the safety net. So why is it important that they need to have safety net? Because we need to have monthly breathing room. Imagine we have $187,000 left, right? Then just now we say the mortgage is almost $5,000, which is $4,990. Okay, if I divide that, actually it's down to 37 months. If I divide by 12 months, actually I have about safety net of 3 years. What this means is that, right, if anything were to happen to any of our jobs, okay, or my wife or I decided to take a break from our work, right, we still have $180,000 to form the safety net for me to take a break. It could be for break, it could be for a change job, it could be retrenched, etc. And this will form our safety net. And with this safety net, you realize it gives us a lot more security. Can you imagine if you don't even have 187,000? Just now you say based on the 700k money, right? You can actually buy 2.4 million. Remember, this is totally no safety net. That means to say no breaks for you, cannot change job, of a lower pay, cannot be retrenched. But my question here is, can any of this be predicted or be controlled? If your boss decides to retrench you, can you say, no, I got a mortgage to pay? I don't think so, right? So that is where you realize that having this safety net is far more important than knowing what to buy first. Because end of the day, if we were to have a safety net, right, actually, if we work out at $1.8 million, I think there are a lot of choices of that if you're looking in the resale market. So that is where we also want to make sure that, having this safety net, it gives us breathing room. Because why? Don't forget, even if we want to be buying a property, life still goes on. I don't think you want to compromise your lifestyle just because you bought a new property. In fact, because you bought a new property, I'm sure that you also want to maintain a lifestyle to tell people or to tell yourself, hey, I actually have improved in my lifestyle. It's not like I sacrifice certain things to get something. And of course, last thing, most importantly, after paying mortgage and living costs, how much can we save? Living costs, this part I cannot calculate for you because individually, everybody's expenses are different. All right, you have children, no children, or you need to take care of parents, don't need to take care of parents. All these things, of course, play a significant role. If you need to know how to be able to calculate all these things, right, let me know. I can work it out for you one-to-one, so at least you are clear of your own numbers. Lastly, the most important thing, the stress test affordability. Okay, so we cannot control whether interest rate will increase or not. We cannot predict whether there's a loss of income for you. We cannot predict that your comms, or if your sales drop, that your comms will remain high forever. And last thing, most importantly, surprise expenses. This is something we cannot predict. Now we know that we have the $187,000 safety net. You realize that all these things you are able to manage. Of course, $187,000 may not seem like a lot of money, but imagine this is your emergency, form part of an emergency fund. Will you feel safer? Will you feel more assured when you know that something has happened? I think you will. And that is the key important thing, because end of the day, we want to make sure that at least we can hold the property for 4 years. And of course, hopefully we don't touch this safety net at all, so that we are able to move on to maybe a bigger property in the future. So that is why I always tell my clients this. Okay, why this interest rate rise can be a bit scary. I had a client who bought a property during COVID period. At that point of time, the interest rate was super low. If I'm not wrong, it's about 0.5%. Okay. Then one day he called me. He said, I just had a shock of my life. I said, what happened? The bank interest rate actually increased to about 4%. And they sent him a letter just like this. If he didn't open the letter that day, he'll be shocked. But you realize that from 0.8 to 4%, right? This is an 8 times increment. He said, wow, very scary. Of course, after that, we do our refinance. Okay? But the thing here is that, right, this can happen. And if you are stuck in the package, or maybe to say you never refinance or etc., right, will all this extra money help you as well? Or if you're buying to somewhere where the interest rate was very high, we don't know. So having the safety net, I think, is the key important thing that we want to have. And of course, upgrading is important, but it has to be done within our capabilities. And like I said, it has to be safe. Okay, so I think the key important thing that we also want to talk about is having the holding power. Like I said, buying a property today, you actually have to hold it for 4 years. And in that 4 years, I think apart from the key question of how much can I make, is actually whether you can actually hold it for 4 years. I've seen people who maybe after 2 years, they really cannot take it. They had to sell. And they have to sell, they will actually be selling at a loss. Because why? You need to pay your seller's stamp duty. Number 2, because maybe you have to selling at a loss, right? You are selling at a so-called, you have to like faster liquidate it, you sell at a loss as well. Is that really the kind of situation you guys want to be in? Right? So we have to understand this holding power. So of course, I think what's important here, we don't ask what is the maximum we can buy. I think the key, or rather the better question that we ask, right, is how much can I buy comfortably? That I don't compromise the lifestyle, I can still have emergency funds. I can still go for my holidays. I can still go to cafe hopping. I can still go shopping, right? Not buy a condo already, then every day stay at home, then very sad because I cannot do any of those. So if you are looking to be upgrading or you're not sure of your numbers of whether what is safe for you to be buying, please DM me upgrade and I will do your budget planning for you. I will also show you your monthly affordability and whether what is the safety buffer or safety net that we have. Okay, I just want to leave you with this quote over here. Just because you can afford to buy it does not mean you can afford to own it. Of course, we want to buy as big as possible, as high as possible, but it has to be done step by step. And along the way, I will be with you to help you to achieve your objectives. Alright, so if there's anything that you need, do give me a call or just reach out to me or slide into my DM. Last but not least, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. I spend a lot of time doing all these videos to give you clarity. So if you really have something take away from this video, please let me know. And not, I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.